Can I get you just to have a seat here? I'll be right in.
Do you know you can take the handcuffs off?
What's that?
Can you take the handcuffs off?
As soon as the detective gets in here, Detective Flores, he can take those off for you. I think that's what he told you anyway, that he'd allow you to have your handcuffs on.
Okay, let me get those off you. Can you stand up for me? Face down. I'm gonna get you a bottle of water.
Thank you. Any chance we could get my purse?
Yeah, we'll get that from the house.
Will they bring it to me?
It'll probably be put in your property. There's water for you.
Do you want one for yourself?
Yeah, I can.
Anybody can turn the heat up in here? Or like, do you have a sweater I can borrow or something?
I don't have any sweaters. I'll see if I can turn it off. It's hard to control the heat in this building.
That's fine.
Make sure I don't lock myself in here. So you remember me?
Of course I do.
I traveled all the way up here to come talk to you. Because, you know, I've been working on Travis's case ever since it happened.
Mhm.
Okay, and I know exactly when it happened, when he was killed. I know a lot of details. And just recently we found quite a bit of evidence. And I'll discuss that with you. The main thing that I'm looking for, though, is answers on why certain things happened, why they went so far, and also to get your statements.
Okay.
A lot of details on this case that haven't been released to the public and not even to Travis's family. And those details are known only by us and the person who did it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, is because I believe that you know some of these details. And I
Okay.
think you can help us.
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
Okay. Because we're here at the police department, the sheriff's department here in, was it Siskiyou County?
Siskiyou.
It was called, okay. And you're considered under arrest or detained, you're not free to go. And I'm a police officer, I have to read you your rights, okay? I'm sure you've heard them on TV, you know, I have to read them off this little card here, but they're pretty much the same, and I'll explain them to you as we go, okay? Let's see. This is July 15, 2008, correct?
Yes.
Let me see what time it is here. It's 10:01. Memorial This is case number 2008-161-0844. Okay. You do have the right to remain silent. Okay, anything you say may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to the presence of an attorney to assist you prior to questioning and to be with you during questioning if you so desire. If you cannot afford an attorney, you have the right to have an attorney appointed for you prior to questioning. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
And what I'm going to do is just ask you some questions, ask you what you've been doing, certain dates, what you were up to.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were traveling on some of these dates.
I travel a lot.
I want to kind of clarify some of these things. And, if there's a question that you don't want to answer, you don't feel comfortable, you can say no, or you can elaborate as much as you want. It's completely up to you. It's at your speed. I don't want to pressure you.
Is this recorded at all, or should we?
I don't know if there's a recording or anything.
I don't know if these are voice recorders. I noticed them. If they have video, if they have audio or batteries or what.
I don't think they're on.
Sorry, I'm really cold.
It's
You still
okay.
heat still?
Yeah, I haven't touched those or anything, but
Oh, okay.
they're not on, so. What I want to do is just get to the bottom of it. Everybody wants to know, okay? And, so I'm going to ask you some questions. You can voluntarily answer them if you want, okay? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine.
There was some question about you being, well, let's start with this. What have you been up to since Travis's death? What have you been doing?
Well, I've been working.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been really working in prepaid legal. There's not a whole lot here in this marketplace, which is...
It's kind of small here.
It's small here, and really that could be seen as an opportunity rather than a hindrance, because that just means the market is untapped in a larger way. So I could have if I wanted to, but I'm kind of like a deer in the headlights when it comes to prepaid legal, and I just have a fear of just approaching people. So I've been working at a Mexican restaurant in the north end of town. I've been kind of in a daze, at least for the first few weeks.
Like everybody,
Yeah. I know that a lot of people have been posting on Facebook really nice things, and memories, and at one point I was like, well, maybe I should do that. So I posted this thing, and I just said all my memories, and I realized looking back on it that it kind of sounded immature. It's more like my Dear Travis kind of letter. And so I took it down because...
More personal?
Yeah, some of it was details, a little bit more personal. Not too personal, nothing inappropriate. Just, I just felt funny. I think because I'm a photographer, I tend to communicate more through pictures, so I posted a ton of pictures that I had of him. And I have a ton more that I just can't access right now. And videos and things that I know his family would want. But, so I posted pictures and I took that down, and I posted something last week. But other than that, I've been on Facebook and MySpace a lot, looking at his profile, looking at his pictures, reading things about his obituaries and any news updates. And, there's legacy.com where you can write something about him.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those postings.
I didn't realize until I actually spoke with Ryan Burns. He told the guy that's in Utah. And we've been talking a lot, and we try not to talk about that because it's kind of like, ugh. And plus, Travis is my ex-boyfriend, but at the same time, he's my friend. So while I'm mourning my friend, how do you talk to your new potential, possible, maybe person that you might start dating about your friend, even though he was your ex-boyfriend? So it's kind of a gray area. I try not to talk about him too much, but he comes up a lot. And it was through him that I learned that he said, if you come out to Utah, things are really weird because everyone thinks that you could have had a hand.
And I've talked to a lot of people, and everybody's pointing a finger at you.
I know.
Everybody is saying, I don't understand what happened to Travis. I don't know who killed him. but you need to look at Jodi. And sometimes the simplest answers are the correct ones. And that's one of the reasons I started looking at you a little bit closer. And over the last month or so, I've gotten into Travis's life, talked to all his friends, his family. I got a really good understanding of who he is now. And I got a very good understanding of your relationship with him. And I'm kind of just putting two and two together.
Well,
And it kind of matches. So one of the reasons I'm here is to talk to you to figure out what was going on between you two. I know the relationship that you guys had was of convenience sometimes. Obviously you weren't boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, but you were still having a sexual relationship, which,
Does his family know about that? Just curious.
No, his family doesn't know anything. Yeah.
I'm interested in protecting how he's remembered as well, and he was.
Well, I'm sure if Travis could speak right now, he wouldn't care what people thought about him, because they knew who he was. Okay, a sexual relationship here or there, because of the fact he was a member of the church, really doesn't matter.
A couple times I asked him
whole
if he
range
could-
of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think in the broad scope of things that could be right. I just think that the reason I care about that is because he was adamant about that. And a couple times we prayed about it, didn't work, or we didn't stick to our guns on it. And one time a girlfriend of mine just said, "Why don't you just go to your bishop and talk?" And asked Travis the same. And I talked to him about it, and he got really angry. He said, "I've already had problems with this in the past. I'm embarrassed by it. I don't want to go to my bishop." And so we just kind of stopped for like a few weeks, and then that must have been in, I think it was August, and then it just resumed.
Well, the way Travis thought, by getting into his head and everything that he's written in his journals and everything I found out about him, he truly had feelings for you. And for some reason, he felt that the relationship between you and him was somewhat unhealthy, but he couldn't stop it. And I assume that's probably maybe the same way you felt about him, or
It's probably,
maybe you didn't understand why he didn't believe it was healthy.
No, I didn't think it was healthy either, spiritually at least, and probably emotionally, but mostly spiritually. And I think that kind of, once you have something that's not healthy spiritually, it filters through all aspects of your life. It's one of the main, like there were three main reasons I moved back to Eureka, and one was I was in financial dire straits. I was not getting ahead, things were not working. Everything in Arizona was like, except for the wonderful friends that I made in my ward, and the opportunity. It's like the Mormon land of opportunity there, which is awesome, but except for all that, like every sign was pointing, just go, I wasn't able to hold a job, and that had never happened before. Too mumuch of my nightlife was about him. He would text me and, "Hey, I'm getting sleepy, ... Just a bunch of Z's, and that was his code to like come on over kind of thing. The coast is clear, So, and that was just, I lived 5 minutes away, 10, maybe 10, depending, and it was just too convenient and too easy, and it was fun, and we had fun when we were together, and so it wasn't healthy, and I totally agree with that. So that was one of the reasons. Well, financially, I wasn't doing well. I missed my family. I moved away shortly after high school, and I come back to visit, but I realized over the years I've missed out on a lot of things with my little brother and sister. I missed out on just their karate or their baseball or cheerleading or just whatever. And my dad is not doing well. He doesn't think he has very long to live, but he always says that. It's been that way for like a decade. He's still here, thank goodness. My grandparents aren't getting any younger, and I just have an awesome family. And I wanted to be able to just be here for a little bit and regroup financially. I owe my parents a lot of money, and I owe my grandparents a lot of money, and I owe friends money. I owe my the guy that I bought a house with, I owe him a lot of money. He doesn't ask me for it, but I intend to pay him back because he really footed the bill on the mortgage for a few months. And the third reason, and I like to put this third because I like to think that second to those reasons I would have been strong enough somehow, but the third reason was to put a distance, a physical distance between Travis and I, because I know that he really liked Mimi, and he said he did. I kind of felt guilty. I mean, I know they weren't dating, but I just felt guilty somehow, and I didn't know Ryan at the time. I met him in March in Oklahoma City, and it was just brief, and I remember seeing him and saying, oh, I really want to go say hi to him, but he was surrounded by people, and he was kind of unapproachable. And he says he remembers meeting me too, and it wasn't until Zion, my friend, texted me, and I think I told you that.
And this is all after you broke up.
Oh, yeah.
Broke up with Travis, everything was all over.
As far as the timeline, we broke. It was kind of a mutual thing, but I sort of more broke up with him.
Yeah.
It was hard to do because I really loved him, but I just realized that without trust, you can't have anything, and I had violated his trust.
Is that the main reason you guys broke up? Is the trust?
Trust. I think that there's
not that the relationship was unhealthy because of the sexual activity, promiscuity, but just that you guys couldn't trust each other.
I think that, and this doesn't make it right, I think that, being a convert, I've had a couple of serious relationships before where I was intimate with a few people, and it's kind of silly, but I used to always joke that regardless of what the Bible says, and yes, I'm Christian, I just live my life by the 10 Commandments, and those are my rules. Thou shalt not this or that, but it doesn't say thou shalt not fornicate. So I just used to joke about that, and it's a bad philosophy. I think that with Travis, there was a part of me that felt really guilty because there was something inside that thought you're this is nice for instant gratification, but you're destroying what you could have with Travis. And that's why we did pray about it. I remember we knelt by his bed once, and surprisingly, he suggested it. Normally, I would suggest that we pray before we go on a trip or before we eat if we're alone.
It was kind of unusual for him, huh?
Yeah, because he was very resistant to prayer with me. I mean, I think in church it would have been fine, and I feel that maybe because we were driving away the Spirit constantly. Or maybe he felt that by inviting the Spirit, he would feel guilty about later on in the evening, or I don't know what the deal was. Or the excuse he used was because I'm a convert, I need more practice saying prayers. He's like, so I'd say, will you say a prayer? He's like, why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? So we'd go back and forth, and it's just one time when I was on a trip at Havasu Pi, we were all getting on the road, and I think it was with Dan Freeman and his sister Desiree, and they were all like, Jodi, will you say a prayer? And I said, sure, and Travis was like, anyway, I didn't want to argue with them. So, anyway, what was I saying?
Well, he's, the whole trust issue keeps coming back into my mind.
That was the big reason.
He was a big time flirt, and that's the one thing everybody says about him. He flirts a lot. Does he mean anything by it? No, not really. That's just who he is. He did have, girlfriends here or there, and he was at a point in his life where he wanted to really start settling down. He felt like he needed to kind of grow up, become a husband, become a father. That time had come, and he felt that time had come and gone, and he was falling behind.
He told me that too. He said he felt like his time was running out, and I told him that, despite the fact that he's not going to be in a singles ward very much longer, he still has a lot of options. He's still a very eligible bachelor. And he just didn't see it that way. He was like, you don't understand. He was like, that might be true, but my chances are severely reduced once I turn 31. It was like this ticking time bomb.
Finding a good Mormon girl, was difficult because in that church, that most of the girls get married in their early 20s.
Yeah. He said he didn't want to marry a girl in her early 20s because he said that he noticed a lot of pattern in the church with girls that married between 19 and 24, so to speak, would would, they'd start having babies and growing their family, and then they would look at their single girlfriends who are still having fun with no responsibilities, and they would regret getting married. And I think if you're strong in the church, it's not so much a problem, but...
Yeah, depends on who you surround yourself with, too. If you surround yourself with the right people, it's a different story. But, that's where he was. And did you guys ever discuss possibly getting married or anything?
When we were dating, we did.
Okay.
Once we broke up, he brought it up. He actually proposed to me a lot of times, but he wasn't serious. I think he was serious once, and it was when we broke up. And that was really hard because we were on the phone, and it was just like none of that stuff should be done on the phone anyway, but I was hundreds of miles away. And I told him that I loved him. We didn't say I love you during our relationship, but we said it afterward. It was weird.
Okay.
I said, this isn't, breaking up with him on the phone wasn't really the way I wanted to do it, but it was kind of a situation that had just come to a point where it just couldn't be ignored anymore. And
Well, let's move to after the breakup.
oh, okay.
What kept you in Mesa at that point?
I actually moved to Mesa a few weeks after we broke up.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the timeline goes. But, I mean, if you want to call it our official breakup, shortly thereafter, it's like we were still seeing each
So
other.
you guys were seeing each other, but it was a long distance type relationship.
It was always long distance when we were officially dating. We dated from about the beginning of February to about the end of June. So
Okay.
February, March, April, May, June, about 5 months total.
Okay. In June of 2007, you guys broke up, and then
June
you moved to
29th.
Mesa.
Yeah, I moved to Mesa sort of.
Most
He was-
people, when they break up, they kind of go their
I
own
know,
way.
and plans were already in order for me to move there. I was already speaking with a friend who was, was going to be her roommate, and I was her roommate for a short time.
Mhm.
She's kind of flighty. She's a great girl, though. I had talked to Travis about maybe going to Southern California instead,
Okay.
and he's really persuasive.
They persuade you to stay there in Mesa.
He kind of was playing up all the advantages if I did come to Mesa, and if I did, he said, it's a great place. We could still see each other and hang out on occasion. This church is very strong. You'll make a lot of friends. And I already knew all this stuff prior because we talked about that. And so I went ahead and just made the move. It sounded at the time like a good idea.
And you guys continued to kind of see each other at that time?
Yeah, at the time I was sort of living more across town over by Greenfield. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
It was up Greenfield near Broadway. Greenfield and Broadway were the nearest cross streets. And that's where the girl that I was originally talking with, I moved in with her.
Yeah, it's kind of far from
Yeah.
Travis's.
Yeah. The thing about her, and just to give you a background of why I moved suddenly, she approached me the weekend after I got there and said, hey, she knocked on my door, can I talk to you for a second? I said, sure. And she moved in with her boyfriend, and they were engaged.
Okay.
And she said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that Scott and I went to Vegas last weekend to tie the knot. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, we haven't told anyone, but we didn't want to live in sin. So we're going to, and she had already been sealed in the temple once and was waiting for her cancel. Or
Yeah. Her
to
sealing to be
yeah, to be canceled. So they were going to have a civil wedding on the beach in Oregon. And they did that the following weekend. She told me that on a Monday or Tuesday. It was the beginning of the week. And she said, the reason I'm telling you that is because I'm getting married this weekend, and I have to go out of town a few days ahead of Scott, to make arrangements. And now that he's a married man, we don't feel it's right that you be here in the house.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to inconvenience you, but is there any way you could stay with somebody else or just find another place? At the time, I was waiting on a house in Gilbert because I already knew they were getting married, so I was kind of looking anyway. And there was a great girl named Brenda, and she was waiting on her keys for the mortgage to go through, and it was a great ward, it was a great house, and it was brand new. Construction and all that. It was really nice. But she didn't get her keys for months and months. I think she's in the house now, but I don't know. I haven't talked to her. So I scrambled. I went to the Institute, I wrote down a bunch of phone numbers, I called them all, a lot of them, I got voicemails. One girl that answered, her name is Tiffany, and she knew Travis, and she was at his services in Arizona and as well, and we've just remained friends sort of like on MySpace and Facebook and that kind of thing. But she said, hey, sorry, that's an outdated posting, I forgot to take it down, but go to this website. So ldshousing.net, I went there. I made 3 phone calls for the places that were within my price range. I didn't think to look where they were. The one girl that called me back, her name was Shannon Darricott. She said, here's my place, here's the directions, go ahead and go out and come see the house. It was available, so we did.
Oh, go ahead.
You have to get that?
No.
Okay. So I moved out there, and when Travis found out it was so close to him, he freaked out about it. And I made sure to check that it wasn't, that we wouldn't be in the same ward. And it was within his ward boundaries, but it was also within another singles ward boundary. So of course I'm gonna go the other one, because it would just be kind of weird. I mean, I didn't know about him and Lisa at first. So I don't know if they were even dating at that time. I don't know what their whole timeline was. But it still would have been weird, and it wouldn't have made Travis
Now,
very
during that
comfortable.
time that he was seeing Lisa, did you continue to see him as well?
Yeah, and I didn't know that he was seeing her.
Okay.
You
But
know.
he would call you and have you come over?
Yeah.
I know there was a time when you, I guess, were cleaning his house too for extra money or something.
Yeah, I did
He
that.
hired you.
Yeah, I did that because he knew that I was struggling, and he's like, I've been doing the math, and that happened pretty much right on. I think that started in August. He's like, I've done the math, and I feel that I can be more protective. My time is more valuable than X amount of dollars per hour, so why don't I pay you this per hour, and I'll work, and you can make a little bit of money.
Okay.
So that helped.
That makes sense.
It
And that
wasn't
was around the
bad.
same time frame as the move and back and forth?
Yeah, it was like a few
and-
weeks after the move.
Okay.
I was still living with Rachel
Okay.
over on Greenfield
Okay.
before, when that started. And he sent me this picture, and he's like, this is your uniform, have it by Friday or Thursday or whatever. And it was this French paint thing. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's him. Typical.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a very flirty guy, and
He is.